Hey guys, welcome back to the Midweek Escape Artist. I'm out here at this beautiful place. It's a Monday afternoon, about 1 o'clock, so it's time to get camp going. But before I do that, I wanted to run you through what I consider to be my favorite tent. So this is the Minimal Works Shelter G. You've seen me use this guy 3 or 4 times already in some pretty awful weather conditions, and it's held up very, very well. I think for the space that this takes up and the weight that it is, this is the best value you're going to get for a tent. I absolutely love this tent. There is a slightly larger version of this available as well, which is called the Agora, I think. So if you can find it, if you can get it into the country, I highly rate this piece of kit. It's fantastic. Wind has no effect on it. Rain has no effect on it. It's great. It's warm inside. Now, something to keep in mind about this particular guy is it doesn't have a floor. Sorry, there's a car. I'm right next to a road here, so there's going to be a little bit of traffic during the video, so we'll see how we go. But guys, like I said, yeah guys, so one thing to keep in mind about this guy here is he doesn't have a floor. So if that's something that's going to bother the hell out of you, maybe look elsewhere. It doesn't bother me. I'll just put a ground sheet down. It's totally fine, not a problem at all. So yeah, no floor, if that's okay. Very hard to beat this guy. So anyway, we're going to get this guy set up together and we can run through some of the features of it, and I'll give you my final verdict after that. But right now, let's get into it. Yay! Okay guys, so out of the bag, this is what you get. You get the tent, you get a set of poles that you'll need to put it up with, you get some pegs, and you get the rain fly, the clear rain fly, which is really nice, by the way. So this thing is really incredibly made. I love the way it's put together. I love the thought that's got into it. One thing to keep in mind, my version, I have bought the mesh bug doors separately. They don't come with the tent, but you can leave them on, so you don't have to keep zipping them on or off. Once you've bought them, once you put them on, they could live on the tent, which is great. It's got a double zip on the inside, so that's perfect. I highly recommend you doing that. It's very, very nice to be in the tent while having the doors open but keeping the bug nets closed. Great feature. So let's get this guy set up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do with this guy is lay him out. It's a square footprint, so it's fairly easy to tell where what goes. So let me just spread this guy out quick. Alright guys, so once you've got your tent laid out, it's actually really simple. It's 4 pegs to put in, and the tent itself has got some really strong nylon webbing straps that run from this side to that side. There's 3 of them. So that keeps the tent, that keeps the width static along each edge. You can tighten those as well if you'd like the tent to sit up a little higher, but I'm just going to leave it the way it was. So I'll start off with this corner and then peg out all 4, and the poles go in. So let's do that now. Right guys, so just something I wanted to just show you real quick. This design is actually really interesting. It's got this nylon looping here to pull this a little tighter depending if there's any adjustment you need to do. But this is where the pole goes in, and this little toggle here is where you tie it down. So the trick here is to try and pull this as tight as you can, or maybe I'll do that afterwards. So we want to take our peg just in there. Want to make sure we're pulling this reasonably tight, and we're just going to go in just like that. And we're going to do that on all 4 corners. Alright guys, so all 4 of my corners are staked out. The orientation is right, so that's all good. Now I haven't staked out the tent super tight. Guys, I haven't staked out the tent super tight. It's kind of tight, but I've just sort of extended it to make sure the edges are, you know, in the right places, but it's not pulled super tight. So I think that's the best way to get started with this guy. The next step we've got to do is put the poles in. Now there's 4 poles in total. 2 of them go through the center and the other 2 loop around the edges. And the order that you put them in is kind of important, so I'll show you what that looks like, but let's first get these poles assembled. So guys, the first thing you'll notice is the poles that go through the webbing loops have got this orange section in the middle. So it's kind of easy to identify which ones go where. So I'll just deal with this real quick and I'll come back to you. Alright guys, so my first 2 poles are assembled. As you can see, they've both got the orange sections in the middles, which makes them really easy to identify. And one thing I will tell you is these poles are made out of really strong aluminium. It's not fiberglass, which is brilliant. These things can take a beating and keep on going. So the first thing we got to do is we got to work one of the poles. Now you don't have to assemble the pole first. You can do it while you're putting it through. Like if you're limited for space, just, you know, assemble the first little bit and feed it through. But let's do it. So as you can see here, there's this bit of gray webbing which these 2 orangey poles go through. And maybe that's why you don't want to assemble the thing at the beginning, because it gets a little unwieldy. Yeah, so let's just get these all the way through. So you want the orange section to be kind of in the middle there. That's the one side. Let's do the other. There we go. Cool. So the first 2 poles are in. Now what we need to do is they have to go up. So there's a little bit of a trick to this, but I'll show you what I mean. But let's get one of them up first, and we get going. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go this back corner first. So we're just gonna bend this guy, and he's gonna go right into this receiver, just like that. I'm gonna go around, grab the other one. And like I said, these things are incredible poles. They can take a bit of a beating, so you just want to sort of work it around, move the tent across, straight into the receiver. You repeat for the other side. And while we do this, the tent comes up, and you can kind of do this from here if you're a little bit nimble. There we go. And this one just comes into receiver on this side. Just want to make sure we're kind of balanced. There we go. So all 4 corners are now in all the 4 receptacles. There we go. And that's pretty much your first bit of structure done. The next step now is just to connect your clips, but I recommend we get the other poles in first before we do that, so let's do that. Alright guys, so for the next bit, the rest of the poles actually go in very easy. Let's just assemble the first one and I'll show you. So the key to this is to get them all done in the right order. So the first pole that I'm going to put in is this side. We walk around the pole we just put in, and at the bottom here there's this little black sleeve, sort of a PVC little sleeve kind of vibe, and this pole slides in there. I'm going to make sure it's nice and deep in there, and then we walk the pole across the front of the tent, making sure it doesn't clip out, and just connect these poles as we go. And then once again on the other side, this pole goes around the original poles we put in and connects to the sleeve. You just do that. Once the pole is in both sleeves, you come straight to the front here, you grab your front section, and that's the first clip that goes in. And it kind of shows you where it wants to be. So make sure everything is equidistant. I think this thing needs to go a little bit more back. Just as you can see, the tension on this pole pushes the sides out, which is starting to give it its final shape. So let's do the second one. And there we go, guys. So your major structure is now done. There are a few things you can tie out if you want to, if you're expecting some weather. But as you can see, it's really quite quick putting this thing up, and it's very, very simple because only these two poles actually have to go through sleeves. The rest of them just clips together. So I'll show you what that looks like, because it's actually quite nice. I'm going to bring you closer to show you what this is, which is why I was telling you earlier that it's important, that the order that you put things in is actually quite important. So I'll show you why. Alrighty guys, I hope you can see this here, but there's two little toggles here. So these two little toggles hold these two poles together. So as you can see, they run lengthways. So it's intended to connect to this pole. So this pole has to be on the outside of this guy. So it's actually really, really simple. You just click in the first one, push this one across, and click in your second one. So that then holds this little corner section together. And it's exactly the same on the other side. So let me do that. Okay, so once you've got the first corner bracket together, the rest is super simple. You just have to go around and clip all of these together. So I'm going to speed up through this process because you don't want to watch me do that in real time. So let's go. Righty guys, the tent's fully up, fully assembled, and I gotta tell you, this is probably faster than most of the other tents I own. Maybe the only faster one is just putting up a top. But this goes up really quick. It's beautiful. The material is really premium, really good quality. The stitching is incredible. I haven't seen a single dropped stitch in this whole tent, which is very impressive. So just something I wanted to recap on. In these corners where these poles cross, they hook on and over the top bit. It's the same on this corner and the same on this corner, which gives you incredible strength, and it also keeps these poles together, which is brilliant. The only other thing I've done is I've actually staked out the sides, so I've pulled out the edges as far as they'll go, staked it down, so that's going to give me plenty space inside. But yeah, I'm going to take you inside and show you what that looks like. Let's do it now. Alrighty guys, just before I take you inside, I wanted to just tell you about this mesh door. As I said before, this is a separate purchase. It doesn't come with the tent. That's okay. They're not expensive and they're definitely worth it. But I do understand why they don't come included, because in the climate where these tents are made and designed for, they don't really have mozzies and bugs and shit like that. So I get it, but they do make this as a separate accessory, and it is here if you need it, which is great. So I'm going to unzip this guy from this side. And just going to roll him up and just shove him on the side there. So let's go into the tent. Now, the cool thing about this door is this door can come off completely. If you wanted it to, it can come off in its entirety, or you can just unclip it here. There's a little buckle. You can take this whole door, roll it up, and shove it in its pocket. And there we go. You're in the tent. I love it. Now, I'll just show you what I mean by these cross straps, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Alright boys and girls, we're on the inside of the Minimal Work Shelter G, and there's a couple of things I want to point out that's quite cool about this tent. The first thing is it's got 4 ventilation windows, which is great. It's 2 on either side, which creates a really nice airflow in here. The other point, because this tent does not have a built-in floor, it's got a mesh skirt right around the bottom, which also lets quite a bit of air in. It's great for ventilation. And look, if you don't want that, I guess you can just put stuff across it. I don't mind it. I've never had an issue. I think it works great. But yeah, as you can tell in here, I can fully stand up from edge to edge pretty much, and I'm 165. So if you're taller than me, your mileage may vary. You might have to bring these edges in a little bit to bow the tent slightly up more. You can do that. I wouldn't do it by very much, but you can. So you do have that option of changing its shape a little bit because of the aluminium pole structure. So that is entirely possible. But one of my favorite things about this tent is the built-in skylight. So let's open that up and I'll show you how that works. So it's a series of 2 zips. You can unzip them from either side. Let's go from this side today. And there we go. You've got a beautiful skylight with no CM bug-proof mesh on the top, which is actually really, really nice. Now, the procedure for this, if it's raining, you want to keep this closed because water will come through. But I'll show you the other cool thing about this tent in a sec. Let me just roll up this guy. So he rolls up and he shoves in his own little pocket there, totally out of the way. It's not going to flap around. And now you've got light in the tent. Like quite a lot of light, which is brilliant, especially in the mornings when you're trying to make a coffee or doing things. I love it. I think it's a great design, very, very good design. The other thing to keep note of is these doors are absolutely massive. So if you open one, open both, you have a really good breeze flowing through here. I've got some wind coming from that side, so I might just peg out that door real quick. Cool, so I've just pegged out that door, and I don't know if you can see it, but that's about as open as this thing's going to get. I've pulled it out all the way just to illustrate to you that there is quite a bit of breeze that'll get through there. So if you're in a very cold climate, this is maybe not the tent for you. But, you know, I don't mind that. You're going to be pretty warm and toasty in here anyway, so I think it's great. I think it's absolutely awesome. But what we'll do now, I'm going to show you on the outside of the tent. I'll show you how this works, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Sweet. Alrighty guys, I hope you can see me okay. This is kind of one of the secret weapons of this tent. So you want to have a bit of light in your tent. You want to have a little bit of ventilation in your tent, but it's awful weather outside. That's what this is for. This thing is a transparent PVC rain cover for the opening. It's just a little tangled at the bottom here, but I think this is probably one of the features that made me get this tent in the beginning. It might look like a bit of a gimmick, but it works. It works really well. It's flown off once, but it was, you know, 600,000 kilometer-hour winds. You know, it's gonna come off. Deal with it. But let's put this guy on, and I'll show you what the final result looks like. Alright guys, so the little skylight is connected and on. I've connected it to the straps here, and it's connected with 2 Velcro tabs on the top. And as you can see, this thing pulls down quite deep into where the pole runs through. It's quite hard for wind to get actually under there and pull this thing off, but it does happen. Just keep that in mind. It's not going to stay on there in tough winds, but I'll show you what the inside looks like now. Alrighty boys and girls, so as you can tell, I've got a really, really nice weatherproof barrier now between me and the outside, but there's still a ton of light coming in. And I love that feature about this tent, I really do. And that's not the only thing. There's so many little things I can point out, like all the pockets and all the storage and all the little clips to hang things from, and this screen thing and the fly that opens up and closes. the massive size of the doors. Man, there is so much to like about this tent, about this design. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant piece of kit. I highly recommend it. If you can find it, if you can bring it into your country, wherever you are, you could buy very, very much worse than this. It's not a cheap piece of kit, but it's very easy to see why it's not cheap. I really love it for the size that it packs down to, and then the space that it gives you. It's very hard to beat a decent dome tent. It's also incredibly good in bad weather, especially in wind. It holds up significantly well. I love it, guys. I absolutely love this tent. And I really wanted to give you my thoughts on it because it does look weird and it is from an Asian brand and it's not locally made. I get it. I do get it. Buying things from overseas sometimes can be a bit of a risk, especially at this price point. But man, this is phenomenal. You cannot beat this. It comes in I think it comes in 3 colors right now, and there's one size up from this one as well, which is called the Agora, which is also a beautiful, beautiful piece of kit. Slightly different in the window design and slightly different on the door design, but everything else is kind of the same. So if you wanted a little bit more space, you can get the slightly larger version. This one for me, 2 people, 2 dogs, luxury, absolute luxury. It's brilliant. It is really, really nice. But yeah, guys, I'm going to keep going with my camp, and I'll catch up with you guys again during the evening and just show you how it feels, how it looks, and I might even put some clips in from our previous camps that we've done in this tent. But yeah, if there's any questions, guys, please pop them in the comments, and please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel if this is the kind of stuff that you're into. We post videos quite frequently. I haven't posted for a bit, but we'll get back into the swing of things. YouTube is hard. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining me and checking this guy out. I love it. Big thumbs up to Minimal Works. I'm not sponsored by them. I bought this tent with my own money. They do not get to see this video before it's published. These are my own thoughts, and yeah, super positive, guys. I love it. Thank you so much. I'll catch up with you again. Hey guys, so tent's all assembled. I absolutely love this guy. We just had some rain come through and as you can see, no problem at all. Guys, I'm gonna close off. I'll keep adding some clips about the tent tonight and my camp and some of my previous camps for you, just to see what it looks like in different environments. But I love this tent. I absolutely love this tent. It's great value for money. It is expensive, but it's totally worth it. Yeah, just from the construction point of view, it is absolutely great. It's well made. It's really well put together, and it is by far my favorite tent I've ever had. If you're in the budget for a tent of this nature, I can't recommend this guy enough. Thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for having a look. And I'll finish off with a bit of a montage. And hopefully I'll see you again for the next review. Please remember to subscribe and click that little like button if this is the kind of stuff you like to see. And if you have any specific questions about this tent or pretty much any other tent you like, let me know. I'm happy to answer some questions. And yeah, I'll see you guys for the next one. Ciao guys. Thank you.